So in this video we're going to go over the debugging tools that we have in Unreal 4. The first one that I want to show you is basically the event graph and how it lights up when you're playing the game. Now this is a lot easier to show on two monitors, but obviously I can't do that. So I'm just going to have to minimize or make my blueprint editor a lot smaller than it is, just so we can see the game area, what's happening there, but also at the same time we can see what's happening in our blueprint as well. So this is just a light blueprint that we had before, where the character walks into it. It checks if it is the first person character, okay. If it is, then it sets the light color, okay. It says light intensity there, but it's just changing the light color, I believe from blue to red. It also has this light switch function, which can be called upon by any other blueprint. Remember, we covered that in the communications video I had earlier. So if we press play, we'll notice that nothing's really happening in the blueprint below. But when I walk into that invisible box, you'll start to see that everything is kind of lighting up in the blueprint. And that's kind of showing you the execution order and what's being executed in the blueprint when you walk into that box. So you can visually see if something isn't working. So for instance, if I was to change this first person character to another actor, so now it's checking if this other actor has walked into the box, and if that's true, then it's going to set the light off, which we know won't happen. So if I walk in now, you can see that the script's broken, okay, and you can identify where exactly that is broken. So that's a really handy thing to have, visually to see. One of the problems with this is I've got two of these lights in my scene, and if I walk into this light, which is an identical class to the one beside it, nothing happens in that blueprint below. And the reason for that is the blueprint is looking for a certain instance, okay? So I've got two instances, or basically two copies of the same class in my level, and I could have hundreds or thousands of these in my level. So you have to pick which one you want to debug. And to do that, all you have to do is click on this drop down, and it'll find whatever instances you have of that class inside your level. And whatever one you want to work on, you can just click on it. In your word outliner, it'll tell you the name. So this one's light BP. So this time I want to check out light BP. So if I press play and walk into the first one, you can see nothing will happen. But when I walk into the second one, you can see it starts to light up. So that's the first way that you can debug a blueprint. The next way is to use print strings, and this is something that we used before. So we know that this blueprint isn't working now because we've got a different actor from our first person character, but we want to check out, is this actually returning false, okay? And the way to do that is to use print string. So if I pull out from here and type in print, you can see I've got a print string. What I can do is I can plug this straight in here, and it'll convert the boolean to a string. And if I play this now, what we should find in the top left hand corner of the viewport is a printout of that boolean if it's true or false when I walk into this, and it should be false. Yeah. And again, if I change this back to first person character, compile and save, press play, walk in, it should be now true, okay, and it'll actually activate that light. And this print string isn't just used for booleans or anything like that. We can also use it for any kind of values that we want to print out. So it could be floats, integers. You can check them and have them printed out in the screen. So for instance, at the end of this, I can basically print out the color values that we're going to have in our light when we walk into it. So if I press play, we should see this going from like a strong red RGB value to a strong blue RGB value at the end. And this will happen every frame, but you can see in the top left that the red value is at 1 at the end and the blue value is like really low, but it starts off really strong. So you can kind of see it scrolling through all those. So print strings are a really good way of breaking up your blueprint and just checking out, what values are actually happening. And lastly, just to show how versatile a print string is, we'll use it at the start again. We'll just get a print string, and this time we'll get the actor. So this will be the other actor that's walking into that box, which should be our first person character. So what we can do is, just to make sure that our character is a first person character class, we can use a print string to check that and display and output that to the screen. So again, if I walk in here, it should display the name of the class that's walking in there. So the downside of using a print string is you kind of manually have to always put them in there, and they can leave your scripting a bit messy, especially if you've got many of them. Another way of doing this though is to use breakpoints, and if anybody's ever used visual scripting before, breakpoints are where you can set a point in your script for the program to jump out of if that node is being executed. Okay, and to add a breakpoint to any of these nodes, all you have to do is right click a node and add a breakpoint. Okay, or F9 is your shortcut. What this basically means is whenever this script gets to this point, it's going to jump back into this editor and we can check out what values we have, okay, contained in our variables. So at the minute, okay, this other actor, if I hover over it, you can see at the bottom of that line it says current value equals none. It just means that it contains nothing, and that will go right through to get class. Okay, the return value for that class is equal to none, and this here will be false, okay, just because it needs to have a value, and so on and so forth. But if we play the game, okay, we step into this box, it should shoot us back to that blueprint editor, which it does, okay, and it's got a big arrow over it just saying, that this is the node that it's breaking to. But if we hover over these other values, you can see that the current value now doesn't equal none. Okay, it's actually given us a long string of characters, and basically the end of that is the name of the actor. Okay, you can see it is first person character underscore C underscore 0. Okay, and then if we go down to the class, same thing. The last line in that there is dot first person character underscore C, so that's the class. And then if I go over to my boolean here, I can check out that that's true. The cool thing is, like, nothing else is being executed right now, so I can hover over my color here and you can see the RGB values of that is equal to 0. So this actually hasn't been executed yet. But if I go up to my top part here, I can actually skip frames, or I can skip into the next executed node. Okay, so this is just going into a sequence. Sequence isn't really doing anything. But if I step into intensity now, okay, you can see that it's on this, but it hasn't changed anything. But if I skip a frame, skip another frame, you can see that the RGB value is changing. So you can go frame by frame and check out what values are being changed in your setting. And this is really good because I could start looking at the light switch custom event node, or what blueprint is communicating to that, and it will open up all the blueprints that are affected by that, and it will show you exactly point by point what's happening in your scripting. And it's a really good way of breaking down and seeing all the values and how they're being executed in your script.